What's good, everybody? It's Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. I represent Generation Y, aka better known as the Millennials. I go by the name of Jay Clark. My young whippersnapper over there, if you can do math, represents the Z, Gen Z. You get it? Y and Z, conversation between the generations. That's Xavier Lewis, my brother. How are you this week?
What's going on, man? I'm doing amazing out there. Hopefully, everybody's doing great as well. If you're living in the South, it's been raining for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm not getting what's going on. It's,
These,
I don't know.
these next 2 weeks, can we touch on this real quick?
Let's just talk about it,
that
right?
that
Just real fast.
that humidity forecast talking about the country going to be experiencing humidity levels that are extremely high, and I'm already like the minute I step outside the door,
I
not
get
even step
sticky.
outside, open it smacks me in the face and I feel 50 pounds heavier, and it's about to get worse.
Yeah, worse. It's because it's doing all of this, and it's not heavy rain for the whole day. It's like a little bit of heavy rain, maybe for like 30 minutes, and then it's blazing hot for the rest of the day. And that humidity is off the charts. It feels like we're in a pot boiling.
I was actually thinking about this the other, earlier today, actually, because it kills summertime for my son. Like, I haven't been able to take him outside during the summer to teach him how to fully ride his bike yet without the training wheels because it's too damn hot.
It's too slick
It's
outside.
like you we gonna get outside, ride for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden we drenched like we just been in a pool. Like it's literally we cannot exist
And your
outside.
son got that good hair.
He do,
He got that good hair. I wouldn't
he
want
do.
to rehab to redo that hair because he out there and sweated out his
His,
press and curl.
his mama fight him and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this weather is it's gonna be a hot, ugly, heavy summer. We'll touch on that more next week. Because we're gonna talk about some things this week. It's June is mental is ooh, I'm still messing this up. Tongue tied. June is men's mental health awareness month, and we're going to actually touch on it today. And I wanted to approach it this way because it's for forever the show that's already left people's minds because that's just how these things go in this day and age. Want to look at it through Keisha's dad and Keisha's grandfather. And and here's why. Because when it was episode 6, they're on the
Yeah.
date. It's before Keisha's dad even arrives. Justin and Keisha are on the date, and she's telling him about her dad and the backstory that's for her dad and essentially for her grandfather. I was like heartbroken because it sets everything up. Because he is not just your traditional deadbeat dad.
No, no, not at all. It's so interesting that I'll start off because I mean, initially I'm just like, Keisha's granddad is in the picture, and that's not her mom's dad. You automatically know something is a little interesting here for the dad's dad to take such a role into her life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all my wheels were already turning about like, what's the story about Keisha's dad? Is he
Well,
just a regular deadbeat dad? Like, what's going on with this?
especially because when we talked about it originally and you brought up Keisha's dad, I had like the series until you get to episode 6 doesn't mention a dad. So
Not
it's
much.
not like I
No.
had a dad. It just doesn't talk about it. So the first mention we get is episode 6. So it's interesting. Well, before we talk, you brought it up. And until that point, yeah, because it had never been talked about. And then we got episode
Right,
6.
right.
And so, yeah,
It was just so interesting. So then we get to episode 6, we get that backstory. I'm like, oh,
early, right off the jump, right off the jump. And that's where I want to sit with because essentially that backstory of her grandfather played for the San Diego Padres, but he never made it out of the minors.
right.
It's a lot of baseball people's story. That experience then made it so his son, who was, we can assume, good and talented enough to continue and possibly even do better because the Atlanta Braves drafted him out of high school. His father convinced him to not go and go to college where things kind of went off course. And that leads into the whole how he met Keisha's mom and yada, yada, yada.
Right, right.
Damn. Like the Langston Hughes, what happens to a dream deferred? Because essentially that's why he's not in the picture now, is because
That's
he's still chasing his
chasing.
dream. a dream which he should have obtained, but if not for bad advice from your own father. That fucked me up.
And this is the thing, not necessarily bad advice. I want to say it was just like it was good advice, just not for him. That advice would have been good for anyone else, honestly, about
But
well, still go to
that's why I
college,
got to
get
call it
your
bad.
education,
That's why I have to call it bad
because it was bad for him.
because it was bad for him. Like,
Right, right. It was. He goes to now. Granted, he meets kiss your mom, all that kind of stuff, yada yada yada. But as you can see, even him being a father was still never fulfilling enough because he's still chasing that dream of I was getting drafted right out of high school, but my dad, he told me no.
and so I don't want to harp on the characters too much. But really, I want to talk, since it's mental health, especially because we're in some different. So you're fresh. You're in your career though, so you're pushing towards your dreams right now.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm in a different place. And that's not to say dreams haven't been obtained. So it's like I'm I can only imagine that meant that drain
yeah. It's
on because it lets you the show lets you know that they're even aware of it because that conversation between Keisha and her dad later on the couch after the Justin encounter, and he's like, he's like, I wasn't a deadbeat, but you weren't around. So it's this weird dynamic. It's just like you gotta. I'm guessing there was some kind of involvement. He's been back and forth,
right,
doing what
right.
he's, supportive. But yeah, you're not around, not because you don't want to be around or anything like that, but because you're out here working and that's your dream job and you're chasing your dream. And unfortunately, that has you having to play baseball in international markets because you weren't able to get into the American one. And you see the impact on Keisha. Keisha, like, she's like, yeah,
That,
yeah.
it,
Justice, like, yeah, that's a cool job. She's like, yeah, it is, except for when that's your dad and he's just not around. And it's just like,
so I guess the question then becomes like you said, a dream deferred, right? But I guess if we want to make it more specific to like the mental health of Black fathers,
mhm.
how many Black fathers are doing away with their dreams in order to raise a family? And what toll is that playing on them mentally? Does that make for unhappy fathers because they had to stop, put their dreams to death, honestly, not on hold? Because some people are like, oh, I had to put my dreams on hold. Nah, some people just have to kill it altogether because they know it'll never be attainable again. They missed the window. So it's like that mental, just that mental strain that's being placed on those dads. It's interesting. It's just very interesting.
Can I throw in another layer to complicate this even more? Because yes, you're correct. But
Go ahead.
then specifically, I know you'll relate to this. Add on to that the attitude that gets put upon us, and I don't mean that as black men, but I mean that as Christian folk. God's timing is perfect. What's for you is for you. It'll happen if it's supposed to happen. And so it creates this dynamic. I like how you said sometimes you have to realize the window is closed. And so I think we are in this funky and honestly slightly fucked up dynamic sometimes of it's my dream. And a lot of people tell you, God gave me this vision. God gave me this dream. God gave me these talents, yada, yada, yada. Great. Balancing that with reality and expectation. Like it creates, because yes, which
Yes.
we see a lot. Okay.
Oh, this is good,
We
Clark.
see,
This is
we
so
see,
good.
we see, unfortunately, it gets back to the whole basic. We see a lot in your generation. We're just like, yeah, we're just not going to do nothing.
Right.
Like you get stuck literally because you're like, I don't want to move on because maybe moving on means letting go, but maybe it takes letting go to get to. It's a dynamic that yes will fuck with your head. And so I'm curious.
Every
So
single day.
how do you deal with these? Because as men, we run into these things a lot, and
All
so
the time.
and it's a variety of different circumstances. So how do you deal with those situations where yeah, it's really a fuck up in your head? And I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna project onto you, guessing and assuming that you don't run into as many as I projected I would possibly do because of the aspects of your life. But again, that's an unfair judgment because I don't
Yeah,
know your
yeah,
life
yeah.
like that. I'm just doing that based off your age and my own projection of how I was necessarily. So whatever. Go. I don't
Like
know.
you said, I mean, I think it's a fair assessment at my age so far. I haven't really hit a lot of stops or roadblocks and things that I'm trying to progress in. I will say that. But the things that I have kind of been like, I don't think that's it. Of course, I dreamt it. I had what I felt like was a dream from God concerning it. I mean, when I was younger, prime example. I mean, I know this is probably just like kiddie dreams, but I thoroughly felt like I could be a professional wrestler. I felt like I could go to the WWE and tear it up until I realized, oh, those guys are like huge. I'm 5'10 and I'm not growing anymore. It's all right. I don't have to do that anymore. It's fine.
5'10"? That seems generous.
I'm
Anyway,
5'10".
that's generous. Anyway, continue.
Generous Clark.
Sorry.
I know I
Sorry.
told y'all this before. I want y'all to know when I met Clark in person the first time, Clark said, "Oh, you're taller than I thought." I'm like, what the hell?
I'm saying, like, in my mind, you're the height of my ace of my line, and there's literally a picture where we can just stand next to one another, and I can just do this, and my elbow disrespectfully is sitting on the top of his head. So I just anyway. Sorry, off track.
Uh, I haven't reached most of them, but I think the point of my life where I'm at right now is I know that if I don't lock in on certain things,
Hmm.
then I know it's gonna be a no-go. And I'll feel it when it happens. If I'm just being real, I'll definitely feel it when it happens. So I don't feel like I've hit a lot of stops yet, but the stops that I have hit, I'm just kind of like, okay, that's it. It just it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. That's a simple thing.
I don't know if we need to even call them stops because they're not always stops. Sometimes it's simply another factor into the equation. Because, like, for example, the biggest difference between me and you in our phases of life, despite the age and generations and all that kind of things, is yeah, you're a single man with a girlfriend. Ain't too many attachments. You can really be like, yep, me now in my phase of life, it's not just me and my wife, it's we got our
Yeah,
son. So there's a
yeah,
whole lot of other things that come with that. 'Cause like even for example, out here hunting for a job, trying to find, opportunity and stuff like that. It's like I can't just be like, oh, I can look in New York or I can look in LA or wherever. No, because I can't just pick up and move like that. It could be my dream. Maybe, yeah, if is my dream
factors.
living and being a big star in LA, sure, that could be a dream. But does that provide the best life for my son?
Right.
And it becomes this interesting dynamic, which I think a lot we see in your generation struggle with is sacrifice. Because it's almost become, yeah,
Yes,
at some point, my dreams don't matter as much,
as much.
but they still matter. And I would also say some of the weight gets thrown onto us as men sometimes is because I think it's quicker to give. We quickly receive that message sometimes more than others, or we're more painted sometimes as selfish more than others. AKA like a lot of people would call Keisha's dad selfish because, oh, you're still pursuing your dream. And again, you're not a deadbeat, but you're not fully present
Data.
because
Right.
of what you do. And as we know with your generation, y'all not really big into sacrificing
Not at all.
or
It's such a disheartening realization concerning my generation, knowing that I'm very, like I said, I'm very concerned for what families are going to look like within the next 10, 15 years, because of that mindset that, oh, I'm not going to sacrifice. And not saying and this is no mind, I'm not even gonna put it in there because we're not talking about women, we're talking about men. Let's just say men, we have a child and we still decide to, okay, even though I got a baby, I'm still living in my mama house. I ain't got no job. Get up, even if it's not the job you want to work, get up and go work so you can have food to put on that table for that girl that you got pregnant for that child you had.
it seems like there is more of a disposition. Unfortunately, the balance has swung to the other side of the pendulum, as you say all the time. Previous generations was fuck the mental health. What is mental health? I got to get out here, feed these women, children,
Right.
get the job
Right.
done. And while also not healthy, ish was getting done at least.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
There was
Was not healthy at
you were
all.
sacrificing your health to get things done. We are now seeing a sacrificing of
Getting things
getting
done.
things done to protect that
Health.
health. But that's not necessarily healthy either. And it's an interesting dynamic. How again, we ended up back here. I didn't mean to.
Nah.
The question I had to ask earlier. So, what are some ways that you get your shit together? Like, especially as a Gen Z. Okay, so yeah, let me take the
Yeah,
filters
I
off.
think
Especially you as a
I,
Gen Z, especially you as a Gen Z person. How do you get your shit together in those moments when you don't feel right or you don't feel like it? Like, how is it I'm guessing here, I'm assuming here based off what you're doing in life.
right, right.
A lot of those who we see pegged in your generation, and it may not be all, but a good portion, don't just give in to be like, oh no, I can't do it today. I can't even. Must you? I'm just gonna stay. No, I don't. How do you get shit done when you don't feel like it?
Be blunt with yourself. When everything around the world is being solved, I kid you not. I promise you, I'm not like this toxic, when we talk toxic masculinity type of person. But bro, the world is so soft. And when everything else is being solved, man, I need to be blunt with myself and say, hey, Xavier, if you don't get your junk together in the next 6 months, you're gonna be out there on the street. I don't think people realize because I heard this a lot growing up. And I didn't realize it until I'm at my life where I'm at right now. You are literally one bad situation away from being the same people that you see on the corner begging for money. You're just one situation away from that. The way that you provide, the way that you make sure you have safe holds in place to not get to that point, you get up and you do the work. You get up and you do the work. I don't look theoretically. Half the time I don't feel like sweeping my floor. Half the time I sure don't feel like mopping my floor. But the thought of, I say, well, if I want to walk around barefoot, I don't want to walk around with dirty feet. So I'm going to get up, sweep the floor, and mop the floor. Simple as that. And that's the only thing that's going to give me the designated, uh, desired end goal that I want of walking around barefoot and not have a dirty foot. Same thing as with life. I have desires and goals, and I want to do this. I'm in a long distance relationship. I want to be able to see her, and when she comes to see me, I don't want it to all be on her because I still like to be some form of provider, even in the girlfriend boyfriend relationship stage. I still want to be able to provide for her in certain ways. So I know I need to lock in where I need to lock in. If that means I gotta get off of work, do a little bit of door dashing every now and then, I'm gonna do that just to have a little extra pocket change. If I gotta say, nah, my coworkers want to go out, do whatever. Nah, I'm straight. I'm gonna just go home tonight. I'm straight like that. If I gotta make those sacrifices to make sure that I'm still curating a life that I'm still okay with,
Mhm.
even though it's not always the most glamorous thing for my social media pages, I'm fine with that.
Has y'all's world of convenience finally come crashing down?
Yes.
Because it's interesting. I was just so in one of my part-time roles, I was on air doing a story and it was talking about how with everything being convenient nowadays, and I forget the man being interviewed. He was talking about how his son will come home, drive past countless restaurants.
And say, what's for dinner?
Well, no, not say what's for dinner. Come home and order DoorDash or Uber Eats, probably from one of those restaurants he though then passed to be delivered to the house, paying more. And and he's like, I don't understand it. He's like, I don't do that. He's like, just because you can or it's convenient. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, life has become so convenient for y'all. The minute convenience possibly is interrupted, it throws your whole balance out of whack.
I'm gonna say this too, though. I think the road of convenience has been paved by other people, and we're just walking on it until it runs out. So I then would be like the people who are making this lifestyle convenient for them. You're just as much to blame.
Slightly disagree, and I think that's a deeper hole we can go down to.
True, true.
I think I wouldn't put that as much on previous generations. it's the fact that again, your generation for the most part, except for those couple who might have a 19 in front of their birth year, um, this is the world you were born into, and unfortunately, those of us prior have experienced both. So I can recognize convenience, but also then understand why it's convenient and but still I've done things like I don't do grocery store deliveries. That's just not me. I like even though yes, it takes time to get in the car and go to the grocery store. I like to go to the grocery store, pick out my own meats, pick out my own vegetables, pick out my or my own brands, deals, whatever, or maybe get inspired. Like I'm not one of those people. I need everything delivered to the house. I like to get out. I like to touch. I like to feel. Especially with like say for example clothes shopping. I can't stand that convenience because of my size. I need to know that this thing fits. I'm not one of those. Yep, I'm
Real.
gonna order it. If it gets here and don't fit, I'll return. No, no. If I'm buy it, I that's just me because like so. But I think, but again, I'm used to the world where yeah, when we went shopping, you had to go shopping. It was I wasn't. You maybe had the catalog to see what was in there, and you can maybe call in if you wanted to, like the preview, but you still had to go to the store. So I think there's that difference, and so finding some way to shift back to this mental health thing. I think for some of us that those conveniences aren't don't become a block. For y'all, it's just become a serious block. The minute things
Correct.
become convenience,
I
y'all are
think it takes wisdom to know when to use convenience and when to use that hard work. It just takes wisdom to know which lane to use at which point. Sometimes I use convenience. I mean, like you just said, specifically with clothes ordering. I hate clothes shopping in person. I hate it. So I like to order my clothes online. But like you said, then it comes to like groceries and stuff. Oh, I'm gonna go to the store. I'm not playing around with that. Yes, I could do the mobile order and just go there, sit in my car, let them come load me up. No, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. So it's like it takes wisdom to know when to use convenience, when to use that hard work. And I think, like I've always said, it's that perfect balance. It's not fully this way. It's not fully this way. It got to be that perfect balance somewhere in the middle that helps out all generations, not just one particular more than the other. And that's where I think you'll find some great peak mental health, right? You go far to one side, you lose a whole lack of mental health, and then you're just grinding. Other side, you think you have what is peak mental health, but you have no grind.
you just
It's
in the same
somewhere in
spot.
the middle. It's somewhere in the middle that you need to find that sweet spot where you're not necessarily draining yourself to the point where you can't function. That's not good, and neither is you doing nothing at all.
Well, I would disagree slightly there. I would say the peak mental health is being able to manipulate that scale that you just described in whatever situation it may be. There are phases of life where, yes, for your mental health, there are times when you do need to shut it down because you burnt out. We've all been there where it's just like, yeah, I just need a night, or I just got a Netflix, or there are times. It can't be
Oh yes,
forever
sir.
though.
There are definitely.
There are
I'm
definitely
not even gonna
times.
lie on that one. Yes, sir. I agree with that.
But then there are also times where, yes, it is good for you to be like, yeah, I need to burn out. I need to get this done and I need to go hard. Everything else be damned. Those being the extremes, I think the real ability is being able to slide as you need to. Okay, yes, this is a phase where I am in my mind right now, what needs to be accomplished. All those factors influence how you need to go forward. And I think a lot of people they like to pick their one spot. Yeah, yep, this is where I'm going to be here on the scale. And yeah, there are times where I go hard as a mug. I'll work, sometime, take some time from wifey. She not gonna get no cuddles this evening because I got to get this done.
Yeah.
Or, or knowing, hey, yeah, if I'm gonna choose a little easy route and play with little man for an hour this afternoon, well, great choice. But that might mean I've got to put an hour of work in later on something else when I may not want to.
Right. Right. I gotta make it up on the back end. I think people are well, my generation specifically is just like, oh, I can spend all of this time coasting, and that time doesn't have to be made up. It does.
Ooh, it's
It
Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. I don't know how we got here, how much this affects on Mel, but let me switch back to Forever real quick because I watched in prep for it. I skimmed through episode 6 again, and I watched that scene between, I watched that scene between Keisha's dad and Justin, and it didn't come off as bad this time. And then the scene with Keisha on the couch later, seeing that dad experience, and it's interesting because you can tell how much of an impact that had on Justin because Justin kind of gets his mind right at the end of the series.
It is so interesting, and this is what I when I watched that scene initially, I was just like, These are two versions of the same person." And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Keisha's dad spent his whole life chasing a dream that was his, yes, but he didn't want to assume other responsibilities around him. And he had no clear answers about some things in his life. Justin, being at that point that he was at that graduation party, wasn't clear about a lot of things, just doing stuff, and he did not want to fully focus in and chase something, just like dad did.
I think you
I
miss
think
I think you
Keisha
missed something there.
fell in love with her dad.
You what?
I think Keisha fell in love with her dad or the dad that was in Justin. I think because they just had so many similarities when it came to that whole
No, no,
fuzzy
no.
mindset.
Keisha didn't see it. Here's what it was for me in the dad scene. You're right. Justin is lost. Like hell, he don't even go to shake his hand with the right hand of Justin. He
Right,
going with the
right.
left. You don't go in with the left to shake another man's hand,
Even if you
even
left-handed.
if you left-handed. And I'm left-handed, right hand strong. Anyway, no, it was. I think I can see why you made that correlation because just Keisha's dad kind of makes that correlation when they're on the couch.
Right, right.
I think it's important that that moment came from Keisha's dad because you can't tell me he wasn't. He sees he sees the bad result that can happen when you're not sure, and what he was unsure about was the direction of his life prior to the thing. What I'm talking about is the whole thing, whatever went down between him and his dad. He wasn't sure enough to know that this was my path is the Braves.
Right,
And
right.
I think that's what he sees in Justin because he sees if you're not sure about what you want, things will throw you off. And then you end up
Particularly your
and
parents.
then you
Your
end up like
parents.
me. And so I think for him, he's seeing it as if I had just been sure or knew this was what I want, maybe possibly in the same way I feel about it today, here and now, I could have been like, nah, dad, I'm gonna go with the Braves. This is my
Just
dream.
like
This is my
Justin ended
opportunity.
up doing.
And so I think that interaction is crucial because it's not. Yeah, we all got a shakedown. That was actually a great shakedown because because it's literally like like boy, no,
It was,
be sure about who you are as a man. Be sure about
I've
what you want.
seen
Be sure because you can
We've
see what
all
happened.
seen shakedowns where the shakedown is just like
Too
some,
far, too
it's
far.
bull. It's bull. It don't even have nothing to do with me or you. What I loved about that scene and that shakedown was that it was truthful. He was saying what everybody was thinking.
T Tell me to get spicy, Xavier. Tell me to get
Get
spicy.
spicy.
Get spicy. Okay, we're gonna turn away from the men real quick. Who all had a problem with that shakedown?
The women.
Nothing but a bunch of women in that party. And I think this is a crucial interaction for because like this is one of the things that really kind of kicks Justin into you got to be serious about this because he's talking about it already interactions with his mom, but I think he sees here where it's like, oh, I see what happened to your dad from not being sure and possibly getting lost and keeping Keisha as the prize and all that kind of stuff versus if I'm sure this music thing is what I want to do, yeah, I'm gonna be able to make some decisions for what I want and where I want to go to versus just kind of reacting to the things that kind of happen to me a little bit. And yeah, he was never pressing him in a bad way. It was is that what you
Nah.
want? You
He
should
was
no,
like,
speak up, be strong, which is what you need sometimes because yes, you how else you gonna learn to show up and be strong in that moment because you don't want to be Justin in that moment. We had those moments, which are cool, but you need those things sometimes, and sometimes it's an outside force to be like, hey, be sure. Is this what you want? Figure it out. If it is, yeah, stand 10 toes deep. Say it with your chest.
right, right.
Don't just be kind of nervous out here. Yeah, if you want to do music and believe your ish is the best. Or be able to be like, this my stuff. Stand behind it. This is what I do.
And you know what I love too, though? Even the dynamics between Justin's dad versus Keisha's dad and how they're both still things you need in your life as a young black man. You need the voice of Justin's dad that shows you I'm still every bit of a man in a sector where me being a chef, it's probably not even considered this big man, but I'm so confident in it. I wish somebody would say something
And
to
it was
me.
my dream. And this is
It
what
was
I did.
my dream. I followed it. You need a Keisha's dad, somebody who had their dream deferred, and maybe their approach is a little radical, but the end goal is still, I need you to follow your dream because I didn't follow mine. And I'm
Not,
still chasing mine.
not even necessarily need you to follow it. Be sure about what you're doing.
That's all he wanted. He wanted Justin to be firm. Okay, so this ain't nothing but beats. This ain't even music. Just
Perfect example. Perfect example. Pusha T and Travis Scott. Everybody complaining and trying to throw Travis Scott a bone, talking about why Pusha picking on him. Pusha T is standing on business. And in every clip I've seen is like,
yeah.
I'm doing it because of A, B, and C. Here's why I'm doing it. A, B, and C. Oh, okay.
If you can't, and I want everybody to hear me, if you cannot effectively say why you standing on what you standing on, you need to go back to the drawing board, big dog. You need to find some confidence for that thing. If you can't, when I moved to New Orleans, everybody was like, "Why did you move? I don't think you should have moved. You was still too. You just was 21. I don't think you should have moved. Yeah, all that yada 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 yada." And I had to stand 10 toes down that this the move I needed to make.
How much of that did you internalize though? Because I want to flip it just a little bit, being getting on in my OG status. Because let's take it back to Keisha and her dad, that conversation on the couch. She don't want to hear that, but her dad is spot on.
Yep.
So how is it, especially we feel for your generation, and it's generations in youth in general, you don't want to
Right.
hear from the OGs sometimes.
And
Because I'm sure there were some OGs who said, "Now you don't need," or who gave you some possible good nuggets in there, or pointed out things that you might not have missed or even factored in. Not saying you made the right decision or wrong decision,
right, right, right.
whatever. But I'm sure there might have been some insights you got regarding this path you chose that you might not have wanted to hear.
Nope. And that's the truth. I think no matter what age you at, but especially when you're young, you definitely just be like, I ain't stunned that. I ain't stunned that right now. But then you look up a week, 2 weeks, couple months later, you be like, hold up, wait a minute.
Okay, so let me make personal. So what's a piece? I don't want to say call it advice. What's something you got during that time about this move or about from an OG or old heads, whatever, that you
Oh,
didn't want to hear that turned out to actually be correct or
I think we always hear it, and then we don't really recognize it until we get in a situation where I be like, it would have been nice to have that right now. That whole thought of 3 months' salary in your savings account, I was hearing it, and I kept hearing it. I was like, I don't want to hear this, man. I'm in a new city.
I'm ready to make this
I'm out
move. I
here.
gotta go.
I'm in New Orleans, baby. Come on now. I'm not here in the Big Easy. I ain't trying to hear that. Talking about a savings account with three months of pay in a savings account. Who want to hear that? And then this time last year, it was slow. Hours were being cut. I wasn't even making a full
I
80
remember.
hours of the
I remember that
paycheck.
drama. I remember that drama.
I was like, oh, sure wish I had that 3 months of salary to lean back on.
Talk about some folks maybe trying to get in the way to defer a dream.
Ah.
So before we get out of here, let me because what's one thing for you? One thing that when that health meter is running, or what's one thing you do to take care of yourself and your health so that you can operate fully in your best way.
um, I mean, of course, I think the basic answer just for me, both of us are men of faith, like we've already said. I think that one thing is always going to be just taking time to pray, meditate, read my word. I think that's always a refilling meter. But something that's like not necessarily spiritual or anything like that. Man, I like to just, me, I like to kick up, kick back, watch some wrestling. I like to just be able to go back to those things that bring me nostalgia. Like I might just like out of nowhere the other day, I was like, man, I feel started feeling a little drained or whatever. Man, I'll rewatch the Hunger Games series because the Hunger Games series just brings me nostalgia back to stuff me and my siblings used to watch and growing up and all that kind of stuff. So it's like in those moments, I'm really just like diving into things that bring me that. This reminds me of a time where things were much simpler. And I think that's why we hold dear. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And I think that's why we hold so near and dear to it because nostalgia brings an unmerited amount of peace to any situation.
For me, it's good music will always do it.
Oh, yeah.
Just a chance to and with that, if like for me, it's like a good drive with some good music just to kind of get away from it. Unfortunately, being down here in Texas, the driving environment sucks. There's nothing good to look at. It's just like,
You
oh,
just,
it's just,
oh, probably, I have done it a many nights from work, especially here lately,
oh
a
yeah,
many nights on my way home from work. All my windows down, and I'm blasting Life as a Highway.
just something good, or kind of like you said, good throwback shows. So of course, there's Power Rangers. That's the chat, some Star Trek, or it's just,
Yeah.
and then there's also the Xbox. I'll throw in
Oh, yeah.
what it really is. I'll throw on the Xbox and I'll boot up the old Madden franchise or an NBA 2K franchise and just whoop ass.
I mean, just go ham.
Just go ham and not even think about it. Yeah, that'll get you right. Like,
Man, a few rounds, man, because because I think it just provides such an escape. It provides, I mean, I'm not even a big Fortnite person anymore, but I'll hop on Fortnite, I'll kid up my friends, say, hey, let's just hop on tonight. Let's just hop on tonight. And we all on there, whether it's Call of Duty, it could be War, it could be anything like that. Just get on there, run a few rounds of that, and then all of a sudden, it's not like we're fully escaping what life is getting right, but it's a subtle recharge. We don't even realize we're recharging, but it just gives us that ability to be like, okay, I feel much better about what I know the situation is still there. I still have to resolve it, but now I can come at it with a better mindset. Because I still could have came at it before, but I wouldn't have been in a clear mindset or a headspace to be able to like really tackle it head on.
and far too many in your generation like those escapes and never want to come back. But anywho, that's a discussion for another day. It's Y and Z, conversation between the generations. We appreciate the time you spent with us. We were circling around mental health, talked about it. I don't know. Who knows? We just ended where we ended. We had the entry door, and who knows? Hey,
We went in there.
we did what we did. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know some of your own coping mechanisms. How do you stay strong? How do you keep that mind strong, or do you just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go into Fortnite for 3 days and be there for 3 days?
3 days.
Hey, shout off in the comments. Let us know. Like, share, subscribe, and yes, stay safe with the mental health because next week is going to be our season finale for the summer,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not pretty. But until then, until then, peace
Peace.